So in this lesson, we're going to go through another part of the Math A&A rubric. This one, we're moving on to the third criterion, Criterion C, which is called personal engagement. Personal engagement is worth 3 out of the 20 points. So it's a little bit less than A and B. A and B were both 4 points each. C and D, personal engagement and reflection, are both going to be worth 3 of the 20 total points. As I've done in the other videos, I'm going to start with sort of going through just the wording of each of the different levels. Unsurprisingly, 0 points is, hey, you didn't meet any of the standards that are coming. For 1 point, there's evidence of some personal engagement. For 2 points, there's evidence of significant personal engagement. For 3 points, there's evidence of outstanding personal engagement. I really feel like some people find that this criterion is kind of more subjective than A and B. And I mean, even when you look at the levels, it's sort of like some significant and outstanding. It's sort of like, are you at the whim of the grader and how good they think it is? And I don't think so. It may have a little bit of that feeling, but I do think that IB gives us some good guidance on this, and so we're going to get into that now. So the first thing I actually want to do is I want to talk about what engagement isn't. So the main idea in this criterion is that it assesses the extent to which you engage with the topic by exploring the mathematics and making it your own. So this is really about like you really getting into the math and you figuring out how you want to do it. So I do want to talk about a few things that engagement isn't. Okay. The IB guide mentions that it's not a measurement of effort. So just because you spent a lot of hours on it doesn't mean that you did a lot of personal engagement. And that's hard. It might be scary because you're like, oh my gosh, what if I work really hard and I don't get points for it? That's not likely to happen, but we're going to get later in this video into how to do that and how to make sure that you're successful. But personal engagement at a surface level is not just a measurement of effort or how much time you put into it. Personal engagement is not, and this is a really important one, it's not how much you like your topic or things related to your topic that you really like. So just because you were super into surfing doesn't mean that when you write an IA about surfing, if every paragraph you're just like, oh my gosh, and by the way, did I mention how much I love surfing? And I got this new surfboard. It's cool, I'm glad to hear it, but this is about you engaging in the math involved in your exploration, not just that you really like the topic. And I want to make sure that I'm clear. This doesn't mean that it's bad to like your topic. It's good to like your topic. It's important to like your topic, but you're not just going to get points for liking your topic. Personal engagement is also not something that your teacher can vouch for. The assessment criteria all say that there's evidence of these things. So I can't, as your teacher, when we submit your paper, say oh, it didn't really show up in so-and-so's paper, but I promise they were really into their investigation. They did a lot of math on their own. That the grader has to see it in your work. The IB guide states that doing a textbook style exploration or reproducing math that's readily available without you giving your own perspective are unlikely to achieve higher levels here. So this really is about your voice coming through in the exploration, you engaging in the process. Hopefully we'll be able to make more sense of what personal engagement is as we move forward. So some ways to show engagement. So first, remember that this evidence has to be explicitly found in your written exploration. Something that I'm going to mention when I get to the reflection video, and I'll mention here as well, is what we're talking about here is evidence of things. And this evidence is, remember that when you're doing this IA, there's 2 parts to it. There's you doing the math exploration and figuring out the parts and working through things and working on scratch paper and figuring out what you're going to do. And then there's you writing down what all of that is. I think that you need to be doing this personal engagement while you're doing the math on the scratch paper, working things out, working through issues that you're having, so that when you sit down to write your investigation, you can show the evidence of all of the ways that you engaged with the math. So some of the ways that you can do that are showing independent or creative thinking. So coming up with ideas that are kind of out of the ordinary. That doesn't mean that everything you do has to be unique, but it means that your thoughts on how you saw things and what you did are important. You can present math ideas in your own way. So even if you end up having to use a resource, or you find some video online, or you find a description of a thing that helps it to make more sense to you, you want to find a way to present that in your own way or explain it in your own words. You should still, by the way, cite that. You should still give credit for where the original idea came from, but you want to show that you have your own understanding of it. You could also explore the topic from a different perspective. So, if you've really been looking at a topic from one direction, and you find a way to look at it from another direction or another perspective, particularly if that perspective helps you to move your exploration forward, that's really helpful and that's really good. You can make and test predictions. So maybe you're starting your exploration out and you have an idea for how something's going to work, but you're not sure. You can sort of state that prediction and see whether or not it worked out. This also can be sort of about you like getting a result and then testing whether that result is reliable, although that's really getting more into reflection. So this is more about you predicting things for the exploration as a whole, and then seeing whether those pan out. And that's kind of you engaging with this mathematical process. Another one, and this isn't, by the way, none of these things are like exhaustive. They're not going to guarantee that you have good personal engagement, but having a meaningful and extensive list of works cited can be helpful. And really what this does, if you do it properly, is it can show your engagement in finding a variety of perspectives. So as you're working through this, if you've gone to a number of sources and you've really tried to find a balanced perspective on this exploration of the topic you're doing, it shows that you engaged in the process of researching. Keep in mind, this doesn't just mean, ooh, okay, so maybe I should make sure that I cite a different website for each thing that I do to try and show them that I did this. You don't want to like fake it by just having 20 random things in your work cited. By the way, 20 is a number I just pulled off the top of my head. What we're getting at here is, if you engage in this thing meaningfully, there's a decent chance that you have quite a few sources in your work cited, and we're going to see you referring back to those things. We're going to see that you put energy into the research part of this exploration. The last of these ways to show engagement, by the way, this is just the last of the ones I'm talking about. This doesn't mean that these are the only ways to show personal engagement. These are just some ideas. So providing evidence or narrative of ways that you had to engage with the process in order to come to the understandings or conclusions that you have. So what I mean by this is, if you had to work hard at figuring out how to engage in this process, if you had to do a lot of work in figuring out how to make this math your own, you should describe that. You should give some evidence of that. So at the end, where I said that this is not effort, though, exactly, I think when the IB says, ooh, personal engagement isn't just about effort, I think they mean, like I said before, just because you put a bunch of hours into this doesn't mean you were engaging in the process. It sort of needs to be meaningful hours that you put into it. You need to sort of be wrestling with the math as you're getting through it. One of the things that, and I'm not sure if you remember it, but in the beginning of the rubric, when we talked about the levels of the rubric, level 1 was like limited, and then 2 was significant, and 3 was outstanding. So I wanted to have a bit of a time in this video about what does significant versus outstanding mean. So the only difference in the descriptors for levels 1, 2, and 3 are the words some, significant, and outstanding. So I think I said limited before. The word is some for personal engagement. So from the IB guides, they say that significant, the word significant, means that you demonstrate authentic personal engagement in the exploration on a few occasions, and that it's evident that these drive the exploration forward and help the reader to better understand the writer's intentions. So I broke that down into like 3 little parts and gave each of them a color, and we'll look at that now. So the first part, this red part, right? The authentic personal engagement in the exploration happens on a few occasions. When they say on a few occasions, that to me means that you shouldn't have like a personal engagement section. Don't lump all of your personal engagement into one part that's like the personal engagement section. Here's how I worked hard. Here's how I did these things. This should be something that happens throughout your writing, because your writing should kind of like mirror what your investigation process was. And so, because you were personally engaged in the math throughout the planning and investigating part, you should have personal engagement that's going throughout the writing of your exploration. So it should happen a few occasions throughout your writing. The blue part, they should drive the exploration forward. Your engagement with the math and the process should be something that moves your exploration forward. We should see you getting to a point and then you realizing, I've got an idea. Let's do this. I had this thought that I would use the math this way. Or this is a thought that I had, and I'm going to explore this part now. Your digging into the research and into the data of the exploration should be the thing that like propels your exploration forward. As the reader reads it, they should see this sort of like natural progression of thought where you help them to see that this is a thing that you're going to try or do next. And then the purple part, this idea of helping the reader understand your intentions. When you share how you're engaging with the math and the process, the reader should understand better what your intentions are, why you're writing it, what your purpose is, which, surprise, surprise, is us tying back to the aim of the exploration. When someone's reading this paper, when someone's reading this exploration, they should get the sense that they hear and understand why you're trying to write this thing and where you're going with it. And by reminding them of that, you help them to understand what your intentions are, which makes it easier for them to follow you. So this has been me talking about significant personal engagement. That's level 2. So for level 3, we need to have outstanding personal engagement. So I used similar colors here. The red part, again, is about authentic personal engagement in the exploration in numerous instances, and they're of high quality. It's evident that, blue section, these drive the exploration forward in a creative way. And it leaves the impression that this green is like a new color in outstanding, by the way, that the student has developed through their approach a complete understanding of the context of the exploration topic, and the reader better understands the writer's intentions. So what I wanted to do here is sort of take each color and look at what's the difference between level 2 and level 3. What's the difference between significant and outstanding personal engagement? So in the red part, it changes a few occasions to numerous instances, and it adds the idea of high quality. So I see this as kind of a matter of not just the number of instances of personal engagement, but also the level of engagement with them. And it's hard for me to put words on what high quality means, but it really just means that these things are all instances where the work that you did engaging with the math was like meaningful, that it was big, that the reader can see that it's going to make a difference in your exploration. The blue section really only adds the word creative. In the significant at the level 2, it just said, hey, they drive the exploration forward. At outstanding, it drives the exploration forward in a creative way. To me as a grader, when I was like officially grading papers, it would really manifest itself when I was reading an IA and I found myself saying, oh, that's a really neat approach that they're taking. Like it's almost like that you surprised me a little bit. Now that doesn't mean that you need to be like so mathematically advanced that you can surprise even your math teacher who's seen everything. Not necessarily. I really think that the graders know that you are high school students. You are students who are writing a paper in this, maybe one of the first times that you've written mathematics. So we're still going to be seeing you at the level that you're at. I'm now going to be moving on to the green and purple parts. I know this video's gone a little bit long, but we're making our way through it. We'll be done with it soon. For the green part, this is a new part to the outstanding level. Here, they're taking a look to see that you have a deep understanding of like all of the facets that go into your exploration topic. In other words, you've got your topic and you're talking about a thing, but that thing is like linked to other things. There's other areas of math linked to that. There's other areas of the exploration, maybe things you decided not to talk about that are still linked to what you're doing. When you have a lot of personal engagement, we get the idea that, oh, you didn't just set an aim and then get to that and go, whew, oh my gosh, I finished it. You really explored and understood all the things that were happening like tangentially to the topic that you were working with. It's a hard thing to put in specifically. It's more that when you have really succeeded at personal engagement, this is likely to happen. And finally, the purple part is really the same thing between significant and outstanding. Both of them say at the same level that the reader is going to understand your intentions. So that was a lot of information. You may find that you want to go back and re-watch some sections of this, or you watch it now, and then when you're done with your IA, you go back and watch this again, and just sort of catch what those pieces are. But I did want to offer a quick review now. So remember some of the ideas. This is not exhaustive, but a few ideas of how to show your engagement are showing independent or creative thinking, presenting math in your own way, exploring the topic from different perspectives, making and testing predictions, and then having a meaningful or extensive list of work cited. We also had providing evidence or narrative of the ways that you had to engage with the process. I'm really just reproducing the bullets that we had from earlier in the video here. I'm just trying to put all this together onto one slide because I know that we did talk about a lot in this. I also reused the colors that I used here. Remember that part of this is your personal engagement should be found multiple times throughout the exploration. Don't just do it in one spot. Your personal engagement should be meaningful. It should drive the exploration forward. And when I say meaningful, meaningful doesn't just mean good. It means this personal engagement should be to a point, right? It should move the exploration forward. It should be the thing that causes this to progress. There was a green section that talked about you understanding the context of your exploration, that you're not just rocketing toward your aim and then saying, I'm done, and turning it in. You're exploring around it and making sure that you have a deep understanding of the whole topic. And finally, the purple section was that the personal engagement should give the reader a window into your intentions and why you're writing the exploration and how you're achieving your aim. So I hope that that makes sense, and I hope that that helps you to get a better understanding of what personal engagement is about. This process of engaging with the math, of you like wrestling with the math and needing to figure it out. So as always, I hope that that made sense, and that if you have questions about this or need some clarification, that you'll let me know. Best of luck as in your development as mathematical writers.